Very, very warm welcome to you to round 5 of the Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS. But more importantly, it's round 4, the final round of the Japan Cup. We started at Fuji, went to Suzuka, then to Motegi, but the Japanese series of Japanese drivers on Japanese home ground is coming to a conclusion here at Okayama this weekend. We've got 2 qualifying sessions coming up for the 31 cars out to play in GT3, and as you can see, quite warm already, 27 degrees and nearly 32 degrees track temperature. There's been a typhoon blowing through at the start of the week, which wasn't a help. That appears to have cleared, but it's going to be fast and furious. 2 15-minute qualifying sessions separated by just 7 minutes between them, where driver 1 will hand over to driver 2, who will define the grid for the second race. That will be tomorrow, but today it's 2 qualifying sessions for the GT3s, followed by 2 for the GT4s. Then we have the GT3 race, and this time, for the first time in the history of the championship, we'll have a separate race for GT4s. Famous faces down there. There's Earl Bamber, former Le Mans winner, just walking out of the right-hand side of the shot. His car entered by his own team. New driver crew this weekend. We started with Reid Harker and Setiwan Santosa, but it's now Adrian Henry de Silva and Earl himself who'll be going out in the number 61 Porsche. 87 car we look at there. R&B Racing made a real impact this year. Stepping up, Bo Yuan and Liu Yi Hong Li. One of the crews entered in the China Cup, which obviously is separate to the Japan Cup and all part of Fanatec GT Asia, but it's really been boom time this year. But this track, famous for holding 2 Grand Prix, 1994 and 1995. Here is our championship leader in the Japan Cup, Yuta Kamimura, Hiroaki Nagai, and they have been super consistent. And they go in to this race meeting with a 17-point lead in the Japan Cup. 25 points for a win, so possible 50 points to play for. But just bear in mind, if they finish first, or even if their rivals finish first and they finish second in all these races, that would be enough for them to take the title. Car number 25, great. Porsches went really well through testing. That's NK Racing, one of the success stories this year. They've stepped up from racing in GT4 before. They've moved up to GT3, more power, more downforce, and they made a really good fist of it. So right, what we're about to see ahead of us is a 15-minute qualifying session starting in just around 2 minutes, and the 2 cars, Porsche's almost as far as you can see, desperate to get to pit exit, because as I've stated, 13 turns around this track, but uniformly it's very narrow. So if you're at the front, you sort of have a predominant position. Car Guy Racing were on board their Ferrari 296 GT3. They started the year with that at Fuji. Last time out, they reverted to the 488, but they're back in the 296. Of course, it's the first year for the 296 GT3 in the cycle of Ferraris, moving through from the 458 Italia to the 488 and now to the 296 this year. It's already scored some big results because, of course, the Nürburgring 24 Hours, which is coming into the Intercontinental GT Challenge next year, was won by a 296 Ferrari. And the following weekend, Ferrari, of course, won the Le Mans 24 Hours. So sitting on board 555, Piti Bhirombhakdi, one of the Thai driver at the wheel of that. And that is one of a handful of Ferraris in the race this weekend. His is a 488. So not right up with the latest, but still a car he loves very much. That's Meizawa Racing, and they've got a huge setup here at Okayama. They've got a great party with a stage, balloons and everything. Right, here we go. 30 seconds coming up, and then the cars will be released. But plenty of manufacturer variety. Porsche's at the front of the queue. You can see on the left-hand side of the screen, car number 22, that's KCMG's lone Honda NSX, behind one of the handful of Mercedes AMGs. But actually, predominant number of cars you can see at the moment are Porsches, Ferraris. Oh, look, car number 11. That went really well. The Audi of Audi Sport Asia Team Absolute took a victory in one of the 2 races at Motegi just 3 weekends ago. But on the evidence of testing, Porsches look to be pretty handy around here. Bottom of your screen on the right-hand side, car number 47, D-Station Racing. And that is a car that's sitting, the crews, Hoshino and Fuji, sitting second in the Japan Cup. And it's going to be decided here this weekend. In fact, in many ways, if the orange Porsche number 18 takes victory in this afternoon's race, and the closest rival, the D-Station Racing Aston Martin, does not finish in second place. We'll do the maths as we go through the days, but that could be wrapped up this afternoon. 9:11 Good number for a Porsche, of course. AAS Motorsport by Absolute Racing. That's Vucicor Fugasak sharing with Alessio Picariello. He is very, very well placed. He's second in the overall Fanatec GT Challenge across Asia. We've still got, as I say, this is round 5 of 6, but really all focus, I would suggest, or most of the focus this weekend is going to be settling the Japan Cup, which will be decided here either today or tomorrow. And of course we've got overall, we've got Pro-Am pairings, we've got Am pairings, and GT4 as well. I'll come on to GT4 later, but we're making history. They've got their own separate race this weekend. So, riding on board with Takeshi Kimura, the number 1 car guy racing Ferrari, into turn 6, an uphill right-hand, broad hairpin if you will, but it feeds onto this straight, the second longest straight of the circuit. You can see the car guy racing it bright yellow in the background, as we saw just before the start of this qualifying session. Only 15 minutes, and just look how tight it is. Look at this corner, banked on the exit, really good, but needs to be. The corner is so tight. That's turn 7 at the end of the infield straight. Drivers all been warned about that thing called track limits. At some circuits, it's easier to avoid. This is the little drop down from turn 7 through 8, 9, running behind the paddock. 13 turns in all. There is turn 13. There is Porsche presenter Okazaki coming through, still trying to get heat in its tyres. Last few cars only just trickling out of the pit, so they will have a much shorter session by about 2 minutes than some of their rivals. 15 minutes in all, 7-minute break, and then the second driver gets in the car to define the grid for tomorrow's race. But this is going to sort the grid for the first of the 2 races for GT3 here at Okayama. And it's just been consistent excellence from Porsche Center Okazaki, where other teams and drivers have been having their moments. They've just kept out of trouble. They're quick. That's a good shot. Going straight past the car they're challenging for the Japan Cup. That's D Station Racing. Aston Martin got out ahead of them. In fact, I tell you what, it got out behind them. You can clearly see that was one of the last cars out, almost a lap down. So they're getting the heat into their tyres. That would be 47, that'd be Satoshi Hoshino. But with one more lap's heat, these cars, this was the first one out of the pits, number 4, R&B Racing, Wei-Lu-driven car. Oh, and the 87 decides it's going past come what may, wanting Wei-Lu to pick up the pace, so Bo Yuan nips around. Just rather wondering if it's a slight problem, or maybe it's just being very, very cautious. Wei-Lu there sitting in a really strong championship position in GTWC Asia, quite possibly just wanted that car off his tail, needs a bit of space. 13 turns, but as you can see from onboard camera, from outside, this isn't a broad circuit. Right, he's got about a second and a half in front of him of clear track. That's what he was aiming for. He's going to try and fill that gap and not exceed it. First lap on the board, number 87, the car just in front of this one has gone through in 1 minute 33.8. Well, provisionally 1.6 seconds to good, but the times are going to start coming down. But it is about not getting tripped up. And R&B Racing, one of the teams from China, have made a real impression this year. Running 2 cars, they've got this metallic purple one. And, really does look the business. Second one, car 87, the car that just went past, so the metallic green one, so a bit of team play there. There is 87, flashing the lights, fastest car at the moment, 1 minute 33.884 seconds. Almost everybody, of course, improving on their sector times. That's what happens. You go out, you get heat into your tyres, so that's not be quick the first lap. When you're out, that second lap, perhaps also waiting for the heat to get where the driver wants it. As you can see, the driver's turning almost perpetually here at Okayama Circuit. Apart from the 2 straights, the start-finish straight and the run from turn 6 over the crest down to that very tight hairpin at 7. Otherwise, busy. On this lap, Bo Yuan in 87, Porsche from R&B Racing, setting. Look at his pace. He's taken a second off in the first sector, almost 2 seconds off in the second sector, but he seems to have backed up a little bit because suddenly Wei-Lu is not too far behind him. So I'd say the third sector for the 87 Porsche wasn't a good one, but was catching up in the background. Not just the number 4 sister car, but the Porsche Center Okazaki car. And number 4, yes, the fact it caught up means that suddenly we have 4 going to the top. Then he becomes third because Hiroshi Nagai in the number 18 Porsche, the championship leading car in the Japan Cup, just at the back of that group in the bright orange car, is now the quickest overall. Second place is the number 11, the white Audi, covered in duck cartoons, and the car guy racing Ferrari's in the pit at the moment. So this is their reversion. The car guy racing Takeshi Kimura in the pits when he should be out on the track. We only have 9.5 minutes remaining, so maybe moving back to the 296 GT3 has proven a problem. There is car guy racing Ferrari getting going. Bear in mind, this pairing won the championship here last year when it was the final round. In dramatic circumstances in the drop from turn 1 to turn 2 and then into the tyre wall at turn 3, but the championship was won. Fastest car, bright orange, number 18, Porsche Enter Okazaki getting a little bit of a tow, and in fact, in behind him, car number 25, the NK Racing Porsche is trying to make it 4 Porsches in a slipstreaming group. They're all picking up the pace, but the fastest car just going through the uphill turn 11 there. Someone's run a little bit wide, kicked up a bit of dust just at the front of that grouping. Now, is Hiroaki Nagai getting a little too close to those cars in front? Who else is making a move? Hirobon has just gone up in the, he only has one name, but it's good enough to be third fastest, the number 500 Nissan GTR. Target time, Bo Yuan lowers it, car 87, the metallic green Porsche in that grouping, goes fastest. He's moved ahead of the guy by 44 thousandths of a second. And suddenly the D-Station Racing Aston Martin went up to 4th, dropped to 5th, because Rich gone into Fuvasak. We had a view through his windscreen, it wasn't his windscreen, it's the 911 AAS Motorsport Porsche. That goes to the top. He's sharing with Alessio Picariello. Very, very strong driver lineup. Car to look for in this group. Look at the grunt that number 500 Nissan has. Oh, makes it look so easy, and though he improves, suddenly the times have changed so fast. A time that would have been good for second last time around, only good for 9th now for that Nissan. Hello, is this going to cause the session to be stopped deep in the gravel? The treble 3 Phantom Pro Racing Audi sitting in the dirt. Just trying to pick up if that's out of turn 12 out of 13. Certainly dust hanging in the air up there, barrier in the way, can't tell you for sure. But that was Chris Onchia down in 15th place, so halfway down pretty much the group of 31 GT3 cars. Red flag, there's the graphic at the top, there's the flag being waved. So for a group of drivers, their fastest lap was interrupted. Included in that is Wei Lu, who is going very well indeed. Fastest of all in the second of the sectors in number 4 Porsche, of which we've seen a fair bit of footage. There it is, confirmation. Between turns 12 and 13 is a very short drop, and it is a drop from the first right-hander to the second. Now, a car we haven't seen too much of in this session has been the treble 8 Mercedes. And that has not been, it's down Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim, one of the princes of Johor, down in 20th position, 2.5 seconds down on the pace. But let me just run you down the manufacturers at the top. It's Porsche, which got introduced that first. Bo Yuan, Porsche. Then the Mercedes that just got up there in the nick of time. That's the other Prince of Johor, Prince Abu Bakr, who's going very well in the championship, goes up into 3rd place for Mercedes. Then Wei Lu in 4th place. The Aston Martin of Satoshi Hashino got up there. Andrew Haryanto, who really went so well at Motegi. Other manufacturers, Hirobon 9th for Nissan, and 10th, the first of the Ferraris, Piti Birambakti in the Mezawa Racing Ferrari. They've got a big presence here this weekend, so at least that is good news. But what have we got left on the clock? Well, just under half the session, actually. 15 minutes they had to go and play. 7 minutes and 18 seconds left on the clock when the session gets underway again. But, of course, they'll have to have another out lap to get the heat back in their tyres. So their number of flying laps will be reduced, but great use of that Kubota. I quite like one of those at home for my going around my field, but great little device for getting that Audi out of the gravel between the penultimate and final corners. It's on hard standing beyond that deep gravel trap, so very good job there. So red flag in this quarter-hour session. Of course, only when we get to the end of this session, then there's only a 7-minute gap. Then we go and do the second of the GT3 qualifying sessions, and that will be to define the grid for tomorrow's race. 7-minute gap, then we get the first of the GT4 qualifying sessions for their own race this afternoon. We've got 7, we nearly had 9 cars, a couple had logistical problems, we've got 7. It's the first time they've been separated, but the feeling is the gen in the paddock is for next year we could have double that and maybe head towards 20 cars. The demand is there, sometimes the logistics, but it's the first time they've been separated from running alongside the GT3 cars. But right now, attention on GT3. And, well, good to see Chris Oncheer he's going to be able to drive back round, but he's going to have to do an entire lap because he'd had his spin and was pulled beyond the pit in. Anyhow, clearly no damage on that Phantom Pro Racing Audi. In the pit lane, lots of discussion. Climax Racing taking a look. They enter two very good-looking Mercedes AMG, one in blue, that's number 3, and one in yellow and black, that is number 2. They're sort of midway down the order. So good to see the pit lane looking so incredibly packed here at Okayama. And the spread of times, we saw at the start the KCMG Honda sitting in the pit lane. Well, that hasn't got a good lap in. At the moment, it's 8 seconds off the pace. So I think they were probably one of the ones that were last out and were then interrupted before they got up to speed by the red flag being waved. So looking down into the pit lane from my commentary position, lovely lofty position on the 4th floor of the control tower. Everyone looks pretty cool, calm and collected. But for Chris Oncheer, well, he's certainly coming in very slowly indeed. Be quite handy for everyone else if he could pick up the pace and come on back, because the track looks absolutely fine. Because in fact he didn't bring any gravel onto the track. He went off into the gravel out of turn 12, was dragged clear. That's the corner. It's turn 7 at the end of the back straight, then dropping all the time. Looks a bit flattened on TV, but certainly if you were walking it and walking the opposite direction, you'd feel it in your calves. So turn 8, turn 9, then at 10, double back on yourself. Quite a tight corner, turn 10, about 140 degrees. Up to turn 11, right, the other car's going, right, signal is there, get to pit exit, get out. The car that's fastest, also fastest to pit exit, that's Vutikorn Intruvasak, the Porsche Thailand, number 911. Bit of an unfortunate meeting for that crew at Motegi 3 weekends ago. They recovered to 6th place in the second race, but they had a clash with their own teammate. It was about 4 cars behind. The red Porsche, they clashed at turn 3 at Motegi and did damage to both those cars. So I'm sure some stern words were said in the Absolute Racing camp, but right now, Porsches. And the Audi that spun, Chris Oncheer, bringing it back. His teammate Mikkel Mack will take over for the second of the qualifying sessions, but we still have 7 minutes and 18 seconds of this one once the cars get released, once the lights turn to green. Car 333, the Audi we see coming in for Phantom Pro Racing, under investigation at the moment, and we go green. And the clock already moves, 7 minutes, 15, 14, etc. You get Craft Bamboo Racing, their number 85, Mercedes, rather almost being pushed out of the pit exit by car 87, the Porsche of Bo Yuan, who's second fastest. Second of those Absolute Racing Porsches, the one that had the clash with the sister car. It's the metallic red one that's just gone past the Porsche Center Okazaki orange example. But again, the drivers having to make space for themselves out on the circuit. A real scramble. Right, bear in mind if no one improves. Well, I'll tell you what, while things are happening, 911 is provisionally fastest and the driver at the top is 911. Let's go down to Amy to talk to the teammate, Alessio Picariello.
Alessio, a short interruption, but we're back on track. At the moment, Vuti is doing quite well, I guess, and it's getting tight for you, looking forward to the championship.
Yeah, like you say, Vuti did well. He put a lap early and then the red flag obviously stopped the session. Still 6 minutes to go, so a lot can happen. But so far, Vuti is doing well, and like you said, the championship is really tight. We lost a lot of points in Motegi. We had a bit of bad luck, but we are aiming to bounce back this weekend to put them in the best position for the last round in Sepang.
All right. Do you have any secret strategies you can share with us?
No, to be honest, the strategy is always quite straightforward, especially here with this track. Normally we always put 2 sets of new tires in quali, but here is going to be tough because you can't put so much energy on the tires with this track, so probably only 1 set, and we try our best.
All right, all the best luck to you as well after this, and let's cross our fingers for Vuti.
Thank you very much.
Back to you.
Thank you very much indeed, Amy. Car number 7 is under investigation for a possible red flag infringement. That's Comet Racing's Ferrari, Yorikatsu Sujiko. Right, the 911 was first out of the pits. It's already been overtaken by the bright red and yellow Craft Bamboo Racing Mercedes. That needs to pick up its pace. Hasn't set a really good time yet, but certainly Anthony Liu is totally determined He wanted to get in the clear track. He is the only one with space, and he's opened out a big enough gap that Vuitton into Fuvasak. We heard from his teammate at SEO Picariello. They've both got space to play. The D-Station Racing Aston Martin with Satoshi Hoshino sitting 5th fastest, but he was about the last one out of the pits, and as before, he's been slow warming up. But now he can't get back onto the line. It's not going to help him with warming up his tyres. I think Satoshi's made a little bit of an error there, but for everybody else, they're trying to make a bit of a space. Oh dear, the treble 8 Mercedes there, Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim, almost clattered into the back, going out of turn 7. But for Satoshi Hoshino, if there's a problem with the car, it's so difficult here. It's so narrow. Very little space to play with. This is the corner, turn 10. Goes up to 11 at the crest of the hill, a long, very short stab, then down to turn 12. That's the gravel trap where the treble 3 Audi went off and caused the red flag to be waved. So, bear in mind, the fastest time in the first part of qualifying by the 911, just going across the start-finish line, was 1 minute 30.6, and already it's been beaten, because I said Anthony Liu in the Craft Bamboo, number 37 Mercedes that went to the front of the line. The red and yellow one was serious. His intent, 1 minute 30.3. It was an improvement from Vuitton through Fuvasak down to 1 minute 30.5. But there it is, a quarter of a second to the good. Now, this is what we call traffic. Riding on board the car guy racing Ferrari decided not to fight it. Now you can see these drivers are not running at normal qualifying pace. They're just trying to find the space. And right now, Takeshi Kimura's going, oh, just wanted to get past. The car in front, the number 3 Climax Racing Mercedes had exactly the same thought. Back it off, and then go for it. And now, AMAC Motorsports have gone right in front. Their Porsches, that is not what Takeshi Kimura wanted. He had to hang back, was made to hang back more than he wanted. But the driver with the advantage is Anthony Liu. Here he is. He got himself to the front of the line. He moved ahead of Vuitton into Fuvasak. They've got the pace. They're pulling clear from the rest. So neither of those cars is interrupting the other, but it was vital. These are the 2 cars that are first and second, and they've got the best chance of improving on their times. Just keeping an eye out, someone way down the order has just banged in the fastest middle sector of all, down in 16th position, Hiroshi Hamaguchi, flying as only Hiroshi can in the only Lamborghini in this race. So we should expect an improvement from him, but will we have an overall improvement from Anthony Liu? Or let's take a look. 1 minute 30.3 was his last lap, and he does 1 minute 29.7. Thank you very much. Just over half a second shaved off. Vuitton into Fuvasak also improves his time. 1 minute 30.1 down to 1 minute 30.3. R&B Racing Porsche number 87, but Hiroshi Hamaguchi, not too much traffic up ahead of him. Bangs in the fastest sector overall. Improves on his second sector. Can he finish off this lap, or what time will he manage? He's done a 1 minute 31.8. He's going to obliterate that this time around, I'm sure. Get into the top 10, maybe a whole lot higher. Let's have a look. Number 19 Lamborghini down in 17th place, crosses the start-finish line. Boom, up to 3rd place overall. Well done, sir. Great to have that manufacturer variety. We've got Mercedes on top, Porsche, Lamborghini, Porsche, Audi, and Hirobon still flying the flag in number 500 for Nissan. Plenty of variety. Also keeping an eye on the championship battle because, oh dear, Andrew Harrianto just mentioned him 5th overall. He's gone for rotation. Again, it looks as though it's at turn 12, I hazard a guess. No, it isn't. I'll tell you what, it's at turn 6. It's the long right-hander leading onto that back straight. And he's just put the power down maybe a moment too soon, but on such a busy track trying to recover. Good thing he's off the racing line. He's back on the track. Anthony Liu coming around to start another lap. His best lap, 1 minute 29.7. Next lap, 1 minute 29.9, so doesn't improve. Can Vuitton into Fuvasak improve? 1 minute 30, absolutely flat, but then bang, for number 4 Porsche, R&B Racing. Wei Lu gets ahead of him, 1 minute 29.9. Hirobon, what can he do? Fastest first sector of anyone. Are we going to have a Nissan on pole position? That'd be very happy on home ground. Hirobon goes up to 4th, so lost it all in that 3rd and final sector. What's left on the clock? Just over 30 seconds remain. So they've all got another chance to put one in, but that was very impressive, the first part of the track for this driver, Hirobon, in that mighty 500 in this Nissan. He's got clear track ahead of him, going through the little kink at turn 5, trying to get the setup right for turn 6. Vuitton in through Fuvasak. Down in the infill section, out to 7, down to 8. You can see how it falls away behind the paddock. He's improving his time. He'd like to get another place or two up the grid. He's in third at the moment. Who else is going to be putting in a quick one? Vutakorn goes purple, fastest of all by a quarter of a second in the second of the three timing sectors. No one in front of him, so maybe Alessio Picariello will be rather pleased. He was their car's first at the stoppage, but will it be starting this afternoon's race on pole position, this afternoon's GT3 race, because we have the GT4 race as well, don't forget, for the first time. So, sweeping through, the checkered flag is out. No improvement from Anthony Liu. Vutakorn is that going to be good for pole position? Yes, it is, but only for now, and only by 7 thousandths of a second. Will the number 87 Porsche have a tilt as well? No, Bo Yuan just crosses the line, backs off a little bit. How about the bright orange Porsche? That's the championship leader in the Japan Cup. Car number 18. Hiroaki Nagai does not improve. He's good for 6th overall, and right at the end, the NK Racing Porsche went for a loop just outside the top 10, 15th place for Okayama there. But, how frustrating, right at the end of the lap. Quite hard. The grass has been quite wet when we had the typhoon coming through. How about, does the Lamborghini go any better for Hiroshi? For Hamaguchi, no, it stays in 5th place. That was a really, really good session. So difficult when it gets stopped halfway through, but Vutakorn through Fuvasak kept his powder dry, increased the pace, didn't get put off by Anthony Liu coming round, going ahead of him. They pulled clear of the rest. They had clear track, and it really helped. But look how tight it is at the end. 7 thousandths of a second for Vutakorn and Fuvasak. His advantage over Anthony Liu. Anthony actually pitted without completing that final lap. His car's sitting at a standstill. But of course, there's a quick turnaround because their teammates have to get in to do the second of the GT3 qualifying sessions. But there it is. At the end of that one, we have the defined grid. And just going through the runners in the Japan Cup, the number 18 Porsche with Hiroaki Nagai down in 6th place on the grid. The Aston Martin of Hoshino down in 10th. Those are the ones we have to keep an eye on. And the outside bet in the championship is the number 5. This is the Japan Cup I'm talking about. Yamaguchi good for 13th in the BMW. But advantage after the first qualifying session to Vutakorn into Fuvasak and AAS Motorsport by Absolute Racing. Just look how busy that pit lane is. I know it's a long shot, but 30 plus cars in GT3 makes for a very, very busy working environment. Again, the mix of cars, Porsche, Mercedes, Porsche, Nissan, Lamborghini, Porsche. So Porsche looking strong. But for that spin, maybe the top Audi of Andrew Harrianto might have been a place higher. He was 5th when he had his little rotation, didn't get a chance to improve. So we counted them out, we got them all back. Swing them around, that gets a bit more space in the pit lane, swinging them around into that sort of echelon 45-degree formation. Very patriotic wing mirrors there, colours of Thailand on the Porsche Thailand entry, but Alessio Picariello is going to hoik Vuti out of the car and take his turn, but that was a job well done. It's always difficult in a session that gets interrupted because, of course, you might have had your best flying lap scuppered. In fact, a lot of the drivers did. You then got to come in, try and make a space in the traffic, get your tyres up to temperature, get those Pirellis into that optimum working window, and then go out and deliver. But track space, I think, was almost the key. The cars had a lot of testing yesterday and a bit the day before as well, so they got to know this track. And of course, we were here 12 months ago as well. But for a lot of drivers, they'd only ever seen this if they were watching Super GT over the years, or if they were Formula One fans, gosh, nearly 30 years ago when they came out here, in the days of Michael Schumacher and the gang, 94 and 1995. Known as the TI circuit, then the Tanaka International Circuit, but since then, taking the more local name of Okayama. Such a busy place. Seeing drivers warming up, just seeing Alvaro Parent, who was fastest in one of the practice sessions yesterday. His number 72 Porsche, run by Hub Auto Racing, has been looking very handy here. His teammate Maurice Chen put it 19th on the grid for this afternoon's race, but maybe Alvaro can take a look. But let's have a look back at how that session shook out from the very start to the very end indeed. 15 minutes interrupted us by a red flag in the middle, but it was Porsche to the front, not just in practice time, but to get out onto the track first, because they knew it was going to be fast and furious. 15 minutes trying to make their space out on the circuit. And these are the highlights. And it really was a case of getting out, getting the heat in the tyres, finding space on the track. And if you were at the back behind a slower driver, you were going to have to work very hard to get out from there. Some of the players getting a little bit bunched in. There's Vuitton in through Fubusak. The number 911 Porsche was going to be right at the sharp end. The D-Station Racing Aston Martin had a role to play. But the car leading the Japan Cup, the number 18 Porsche from Porsche Center Okazaki, really looked very good from the start with Hiroaki Nagai at the wheel. The 87 R&B Racing Porsche was on the move as well with Bo Yuan. He worked his way past the number 4 sister car, which was driven by Wei Lu, and he really worked the session very nicely indeed. He got the clear track space. Look, he can see where he's heading up front, but just in behind them, going faster and faster, was Vuitton in through Fubusak, right out to the edge of the circuit and not quite beyond. Anthony Liu got to the front after the restart and really charged, got to the top of the timesheets and looked set to stay there. It wasn't to be though, because Vuitton through Fubusak in the car running behind him on the track pipped him right at the end by 7 thousandths of a second. But look, this track is so exacting. 13 corners coming at you quick and fast, but quickest and fastest was this man. Vuitton through Fubusak, AAS Motorsport, takes what's provisional pole, but is now in the bag. The checkered flag has waved. But let's head back down to 911. It's Vuitton through Fubusak's car with Alessio Picariello. But what a good session. So let's go down to AAS Motorsport, where we have Amy Ozawa.
Vuti, it was the last lap. It was a flying lap. Incredible. How did it feel?
Yeah, I feel very good. Well, this is my first pole, so, thanks to the team that, keep pushing me and giving me a very good car.
Congratulations, but, starting from pole the first time and the championship is getting tight for you. You are hanging in tight.
Yeah.
How do you think the race will be today?
Well, my championship point was like up and down, I hope this pole will bring the bounce back again, Really looking forward, but the race is long, so let's see.
I sense it. You are here to become champion at the end of the season, so all the best luck to you this weekend as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Back to you.
Thank you very much, Amy, and very well done. First pole position, as Vuitton through Fubusak said there. So, all we've done is get the same cars back on the track, but with different drivers. The ultimate pace should be slightly faster. This is largely the pros, because most of these driver lineups are Pro-Am. We've had the AMs by and large, a few silver drivers, but a lot of bronzes out there. But really now the times are going to come down. But it's exactly the same situation. 15 minutes to set the best time you possibly can with a lot of cars on a track that, as you can see, it's not enormously wide. And right now, James Yu taking a look in the number 11 Audi, wanting to get to the front. He was super fast at Motegi. You know what, that is a driver full of intent. He's trying to go around the outside of the number 18 championship leading Japan Cup car, Yuta Kamimura at the wheel, and he's showing with Hiroaki Nagai. But for now, those two Porsches just blocking the Audi, and in behind the number 87 Porsche must be thinking, what are these guys doing? Are they racing already? But position is everything. Get the heat in those Pirellis and then go for it. And James Yu Kwai has just dived up the inside. He's going to go inside the number 4 Porsche, or is he? Down to the first turn they go. No, he's not. I said it's like racing. And there's almost more defence going on there than you get a lot of racing. But there's a decision for James Yu Kwai in the number 11 Audi. Do I keep pushing now, or do I go, okay, you're not going to let me pass, I'm going to hang back? Driver with a smile on his face will be Yuta Kamimura in the Porsche Center Okazaki. 911, there it is, number 18 going around the outside. I think it's the R&B. Sorry, it's the Timex Racing Mercedes keeping out of their way. A lap behind, you can see how they haven't got the heat and tyres. A lot of cars still sitting in the pit lane. Now, there we are, driver standard warning there, too much weaving. Black and white warning flag, so race control very, very quickly onto it. As I said, that's more defence than you see in a lot of racing, so that message has to go through to Patrick Pile. Patrick, you would expect, would actually know a bit more. Raced all round the globe, but maybe a bit of team pride there. He certainly kept the white Audi in behind. So waiting for the first flying laps to go on the board. Fastest moving vehicle on the track is Hirabon's teammate. Oh, and James Yukwai's given up. He's decided he's going to just come back into the garage, have a chat with the engineers and go for it. And all along, the Misawa Racing Ferrari has been getting closer and closer to that grouping of cars. Running third in line, you can still see after 2 laps they're trying to get heat in the tyres. Yuta Kamimura goes top to Porsche Center. Okazaki still saying it's Wei Lu in the number 4 Porsche. It should be Patrick Pilet. And likewise, car number 37 should be Danny Juncadella. There he is, 7th on the charts at the moment. But so, D-Station Racing, Aston Martin, the only Aston in the race. There is a second D-Station Racing, Aston Martin. That's out for the first time in the GT4 race. But at the top of the field, D-Station Racing, Tomonobu Fujii, one of my favourite drivers. Doesn't matter where he's racing in the globe. Always want him to be at the back of the grid. He's just brilliant at overtaking. But the car that's leading Japan Cup needs to qualify well. Qualified, I think it was 10th, I said for the first race, but I think there's more potential for Yuta Kamimura here to qualify a little bit better. The car clearly works very well. Oh, look at that first split from Tomonobu Fujii. Maybe he's not overtaking, he's just putting in an absolutely really positive second flying lap for the D-Station Racing Aston Martin, car number 47. At the moment it's fastest by 63 thousandths of a second from the Nissan, the number 500 from Kawabata. Kawabata. Right, the 911 with Alessio Picariello just at the bottom of your shot there, just in front of the Porsche Center. Okazaki was one of the cars that took a while before going out and getting onto the circuit. Still got about 10 cars that have not set a flying lap, so they're leaving it a little bit fine. Maybe they wanted more time talking to the engineers. Change at the top. Craft Bamboo Racing go to the top. Tomonobu Fujii improved his time, but he goes down to second place in the 47 Aston Martin. It's now the number 85 Craft Bamboo Racing Mercedes. Jeffrey Lee from Taipei does start the first race, but Maxi Goetz, the German driver, such a strong Mercedes driver over the years. He is now at the top of the charts. Is there going to be an improvement, a fight back from Tomonobu Fujii? No, his first sector not as good as before. Craft Bamboo Racing first. I sense at the end of this lap it could be Craft Bamboo Racing first and second. Car number 37 absolutely flying. We saw Anthony Liu qualify very well, second for the first race, but his co-driver Anthony Liu is absolutely on the move in number 37, fifth at the moment, bound to improve. There he is, taking 0.164 of a second off in the first sector alone. Now what's happening to the number 18 Porsche? Still Yuta Kamimura, still in 6th place. This is the fastest car, but he's stuck in traffic. Danny Juncadella, so many accolades in GT racing, Intercontinental GT champion in the past, needs to get past that Absolute Racing Audi. That should be Frankie Chen Kongfu, bright metallic blue, so it is. Maxi Goetz top, Danny Juncadella waiting to complete his lap, down in 9th. I reckon he might go, oh! And now the number 4 Porsche goes to the top. This is the driver who's got a warning, still saying Wei Lu, but he should have done the first session. This should be Patrick Pilet, but Danny Juncadella does go top. He's just out of sync with a lot of the others. He's on top by 0.101 of a second from, and it's now adjusted to Patrick Pilet and the number 4 Porsche. So good job by the Mercedes. Throughout practice, it really did seem as though it was going to be Porsches all the way, but Mercedes and Craft Bamboo Racing have clearly had a very useful engineering chat. Now, what are we going to see from Alvaro Parent? So talented. Now, Bow, there we go, really picking up. He's had a few sort of slightly lean years, went over and raced in the States, but strong single-seater background, and really would be good to see Hub Auto Racing getting up to the front end of the grid. Alvaro down in 10th place at the moment, but that middle sector time, very, very effective. Looks like a top 6 sort of time. That may well be towards the very, very sharp end of the grid. Still Danny Juncadella, who's about half a lap behind the 72 Porsche, but in the blink of an eye, Alvaro Parent goes to the very top. First driver into the 1 minute 28. Now, is there going to be a fight back from Alessio Picariello? Needs to be. He's down in 16th place, but he was one of a handful of cars that just took their time in the pit lane after he took over from Futicorn. Now, can it be a double pole for the 911? Oh, look at those times. He goes to the very top. no nonsense, suddenly 0.171 of a second is good. And we've got Porsche, and then a Ferrari suddenly goes up into second place. Naoki Yokomitsu, always so talented. And for Misawa Racing, that is very, very pleasing. Pete Birambaki did a good job. We're on board now with Naoki Yokomitsu. That's coming out of turn 3. Then you get the kink to the left. Then, sorry, that's 3. Then 4. Then this one, only just a corner, turn 5. Turning in, great place, beautiful part of the world here. To the east of the city of Okayama, accelerating up over the rise, over the crest on that infield straight. The 911 Porsche, Alessio Picariello, the Belgian driver who's done so much racing out in Asia, even in his single-seater days, and he's really pushing it down the hill through turns 8, 9. Here he is, right to the edge and almost beyond. As you can see, there isn't much beyond because you've got tyre walls. It is even narrow off the circuit. But Alessio, fastest in the first sector, improving his time. What's the performance from Yokomizo? No improvement for him in sector 1 or sector 2. So he's sitting in second place at the moment. Alvaro Parent, who fleetingly was fastest for the Hub Auto Racing team. We've got 5 3/4 minutes remaining. And times can be given and times can be taken away. Various cars are losing times for track limits, including the number 4 Porsche, because Patrick Pilet's suddenly fallen back to 7th place. He's had, I think I spotted 2 times deleted for track limits. Third, this BMW, the lone BMW M4 GT3 in Fanatec GT Asia, has been going well this year. It comes here as the outside shot for the Japan Cup, but I mean it needs 2 sets of miracles, one in race 1 in race 2 to have a chance. Now, let's take a look. Car 72, Alvaro Parent, good for second overall. He improves in the first sector. Is he going to improve on the second sector? Waiting for that to come through. Also waiting to see a time come up for Earl Bamber, the Le Mans winner. He's way down in 27th position, but again, one of the cars that was very late out onto the circuit. I think we'll see that one climbing up the charts. But Alvaro Parent, well, you can see probably not going to improve by a great deal, because what he gained in sector 1, he's lost slightly more in sector 2 in the yellow and grey Hub Auto Racing Porsche. It's still Alessio Picariello at the top. It's still the Ferrari of Misawa Racing in second place. It's Alvaro Parent, this driver, in third place overall. He may gain a sector or 2, fraction of a second. And Yokomizo's picked up the place in second overall. So any improvement from Alvaro Parent? No, he's way down. He's 2 1/1000ths of a second down on his best lap. That's consistent speed for you. Right, Naoki Yokomizo, we've got a car on the right-hand side. Oh, just putting into the pit exit entry, that's fine. Down to 12, through 13. Got close to Porsche in front of him, hasn't interrupted him. Can Naoki Yokomizo put a Ferrari on pole position? Can he put the 488 GT3 to the very front? Oh, he improves his time, but he's still just 0.2. Well, he improved by a couple of thousandths again. Maybe traffic did slightly affect him. This is a drop down to turn 2. Long left-hander, trying to stay off the curbs a little bit. You've got to swing it into 3 and 4. A little S here, 3, going into 4. See a tiny little left-hander at turn 5. A lot of places wouldn't even call that a corner. Oh, keeping out the way because Frankie Chen Kong Fu comes flying past. So looks as though Yokomitsu thinks he's done his best. He's backed off. I tell you, someone else who's getting a move on. Eduardo Liberati up to 5th place for KCMG. We'll look for him, because that's a great run from Liberati, fastest of anybody through the middle sector. So the car that was qualifying right down at the back, the Honda NSX for KCMG, could come right up to the front. It's still Alessio Picariello. Looking at James Hughes. Remember, this was a car that was obstructed very early in the session. At the moment, because he came into the pits to have a little chat, he's way down the order, waiting to see where he's going to pop into. Will James go from 12th into the top 10? You feel fairly sure that he will do precisely that. Yes, he goes up into 6th place. Still needs to find half a second. In fact, he's precisely half a second down on the best time set by Alessio Picariello. 2.5 minutes remain. Told you about the ducks on that car, all over the place. Although the margin is 0.27 of a second, just over a quarter of a second, you feel that maybe, just maybe, someone's going to pick one out of the bag and topple Picariello. Liberati did improve, went up to 3rd place overall. He's 0.373 of a second down. We're going to see a Honda on the front row. We're going to see a Honda in pole position. Well, let's find out. Again, even out of the final corner, you can see how narrow it is. Accelerating out of turn 13. down the main straight. This is the Comet Racing Ferrari who are riding on board with. They've got a car in GT4 as well, so one of the teams spreading their wings. You won't miss their car in GT4. It's Barbie pink. Whatever that means. So, for now, for the Comet Racing Ferrari, this is car number 7. Down in 26th position, so Yamasaki has got lap time to find. It's still Alessio Picariello, still from the lead Ferrari, number 555 from Mizawa Racing, still 0.269 of a second. Cars in the pits, but where is the performance coming from? Edoardo Liberati did not improve. He's still in 3rd position. Now let's just put my Japan Cup hat on for a second. The car that is leading it is car 18, and at the moment the Porsche Center Okazaki 911 is down in 20th position for Yuta Kamimura, but importantly the car that's second in the championship, D Station Racing Aston Martin, Tomonobu Fuji is up in 10th, so that's a 10th place margin on the grid. That could be a big factor. Triple Eight Racing run a couple of Mercedes 88 and Triple Eight, and 88 has got Michael Grenier, the French-Canadian driver, on board, and he's decided Barbie pink is the colour to have, or purple on the timing screens. He's faster than anyone in the first sector. He's good only for 9th position at the moment, and his teammate will be rubbing his hands in the pit lane. The Prince Abu Bakr Ibrahim, the second of the princes of Johor to come racing, and he's the one that's really setting the pace. Now, the middle sector, the time has fallen away, but there's still... Oh, it's going to be very close. Can he get down across the start-finish line in 5 seconds from now? I think he's going to miss the checker. He's going to get the checkered flag rather than get through. NK Racing, Porsche should get through. Countdown, the checkered flag is there, so it's the final shot for Michael Grenier. How good was that? Well, good for 9th. Checkered flag, you can see being waved on the left-hand side of the screen. Here comes Porsche Center Okazaki, as I said, needs to qualify a bit higher than 20th on the grid, but I think the bolt has been shot. Yeah, that looks like no improvement. May even lose a position or two. That does us pick up time in the closing seconds of this second GT3 qualifying session. This is the grid for tomorrow's race. We already know the 911 Porsche will be on the pole for this afternoon's race for GT3. As you can see, the top of the timing screen's already there in the pit lane. Alessio Picariello has done all he can do. His advantage point 269 of a second, and none of the drivers in the top 10 likely to get close to that. The last few cars coming across the start-finish line, but for AAS Motorsport with Absolute Racing, lightning strikes twice, 2 pole positions, and from a very proud Vutikon Fufusak earlier, we heard with Amy Izawa, very pleased indeed with his first pole in this championship. And now Alessio Picariello, who's not a stranger to pole, has gone and made it a double for AAS Motorsport. And I think we've pretty much got everybody home now. Maybe a couple of runners still to come through, but I'm not seeing anyone with great improvements. And a great session for KCMG. Edoardo Liberati. Paul Lipp, his teammate, the boss of KCMG, will be delighted. He was at the tail of his pack, but very much moving up the order. A young Italian racer taking 3rd position. But it's Alessio Picariello in a Porsche, the number 911 from AAS Motorsport. It's the Mizawa Racing Ferrari, the treble 5, and the Okayama in 2nd place. And 3rd place, just pipping Alvaro Perez's Hub Auto Porsche, the KCMG Honda NSX. Great to have the manufacturer variety. And there we have 2 pole positions. First for Vutikon Fufusak for the Saturday race, and for tomorrow's race we now know Alessio Picariello will have that same car, the 911 AAS Motorsport Porsche by Absolute Racing, on pole position as well. Mizawa Racing with their Ferrari, 2nd fastest today for Neki Okamiso for tomorrow's race. Edoardo Liberati, great job in that Honda NSX to go 3rd. Alvaro Perez, great to have him. He'll be up at the front end starting 4th tomorrow. Maxi Gertz, excellent as ever. Craft Bamboo Racing in 5th in the top Mercedes. And Leo Yi Hong Lee, R&B Racing, that 87 Porsche's looking very handy for both races. James Yu Kwai, really good run from him again. He's getting stronger through the course of this season in the number 11 Audi, the top Audi in the field. 2nd Ferrari, Kay Cosolino, really starting to enjoy the 296 Ferrari. Michael Grenier brought on board this weekend with Prince Abu Bakr Ibrahim. And in 10th place, the car that's 2nd in the Japan Cup, but the car that will be starting way ahead of its championship rival is 10th overall. So what a great qualifying session there with a lot of movement up and down the charts. But let's go down because Amy has decided to go and catch up with Mizawa Racing and Naoki Yokomizo. Fantastic run to be second fastest. And he will be joining us with Amy Mizawa. Let's go and hear his thoughts.
横溝選手はポールで惜しかったんですけれども、フロントロースタート上出来じゃないですか。おめでとうございます。
そうですね。もう本当ここまで大変でしたけど、ようやく予選はやっぱり車が速くないと前行けないんで、ラッキーとかじゃなくて本当にチームの実力で取れた2位だと思います。
So for the qualifying, it's really about the car that it has to be quick. So he pushed full hard, and that's what the result came here for. So he's very happy for his front row. すみません、お時間がちょっとあるので本当おめでとうございます。フロントローからのスタート頑張ってください。
頑張ります。
Back to you.
Thank you very much. Very great to see the man himself, Mizawa, along with Naoki Yokomizo. So Naoki is just excellent. But for all the drivers who got to the front end of the grid, they had to get the heat in the tyres, they had to get the space on the track, and it wasn't always easy. As you can see, very, very crowded down there. But the GT3 cars are going to be pushed into the garage, or being signalled down there to do just that, because the stage has to be cleared, because we're going to go qualifying all over again. This is a bit of history in Fanatec GT, because we're going to move over and GT4 will have its own qualifying session. But qualifying, that was a scramble, that was fun. And for the drivers out there, let's take a look at the highlights of the second of the qualifying sessions. And again, it was about the Porsches getting out front because their garages were closest to pit exit. What they wanted was clear track. In fact, it was a bit of a story in the first part of the session. The number 11 Audi with James Hugh was desperate to get past them, and really was being kept at bay by the number 4 Porsche of Patrick Pilet, who was certainly very robust indeed and got a driver warning flag for just not letting the number 11 Audi go past when it was trying to go round the outside, down the inside. But it was track position they were fighting for, and they fought absolutely furiously. You can see how it looks like a race at this point. This is qualifying. And they had 15 minutes to go and set a good lap. They got a little bit busy. 2 Craft Racing, Craft Bamboo Racing, Mercedes, and then tucked in behind the D Station Racing, Aston Martin, aiming to just first of all get as close to the front of the grid as possible, but to make sure it's going to start tomorrow's race ahead of its rivals in the Japan Cup. That's sitting second in class, but first in class, first overall in terms of pace here. Pole for race 1, and it was the turn of Alessio Picariello in that 911 Porsche from AAS Motorsport to see if he could do what his teammate could do, what Matt Fujikorn had done, which was take pole for race 1 there, right to the edge of the track, not quite beyond. That's good. That's why he went on to take pole position. And then suddenly there was a challenger. Suddenly the treble 5 Ferrari Mizawa Racing going faster and faster in the hands of Naoki Yokomizo, and again working the track to his advantage. Triple 8, they were starting to pick up the pace, and it was Michael Grenier on his debut in this car who got into the top 10, got up to 9th, and just couldn't get any higher up, but he was the late challenger. It was already the time had been set for pole position. There's the checkered flag, no late improvements, but pole position for race 1 and race 2 for AAS Motorsport. So the marshals out on the track between turns 9 and 10 to sweep any gravel off that's been dragged in by drivers running a little bit wide in that short straight just behind the paddock. We saw a few cars going over the curbs there and kicking up the dirt, so good to see that has been shifted. And likewise, again, keep it neat and tidy. That's the back straight, the run from turn 6 down to turn 7. A couple of kinks in that. Fans starting to come in today. And Mizawa Racing got a huge presence here, and that's the concert area behind the there's the covers you're looking at of all the things that are going to go on this weekend, and that's looking through the grandstand that overlooks the pit straight. As you can see, the circuit nestles in a bowl in this fabulous setting, beautiful part of the world, surrounded by hills and trees, and the track really does sit into the landscape. And you can see quite a lot of engineering work was done when this circuit was built in the early 1990s. Initially, for people to come and drive their very quick road cars, but very soon it had its first Grand Prix in 1994, and the rest is history. But always a popular circuit to come to. It's tight, it's twisty, it's narrow, and getting pole position should be slightly easier, or getting your best lap out of your car should be slightly easier for the GT4 runners, because we'll have 7 of those coming out to play, 6 different manufacturers. Let's run you through. We've got McLaren, the first Artura racing in Asia, only arrived at the start of the week. And that's great that Kref Motorsport have brought that one out to play. And that's shared by Yuko Suzuki, one of the 2 female racers in the class, and Risa Oguchi will also be out. She's racing the bright pink Mercedes from Comet Racing. So we've got a McLaren, 2 Toyotas, 1 Aston Martin Vantage GT4, a BMW M4 GT4, which is leading the championship, Mercedes AMG GT4, and the Porsche Cayman 718 GT4 RS Club Sport, to give it its full name, which is leading the AM category in GT4. So to explain, we've got Silver AM, which is a combination of drivers, a silver and a bronze. And for those that have 2 bronzes, they run in the AM class. Just 2 cars in the AM class, so the majority of the cars in this field in the Silver AM category. The championship leader, car number 50, just coming into the view in the background. That's Easy Racing with BMW M Team Studi. They've been so strong in the championship over the years. Of course, we had the 2-year hiatus during the COVID pandemic. We came back to full metal racing last year, and the championship has grown very nicely, thank you, in these last 2 years. Still got one final round to come at Sepang in September, but this is the concluding round of the Japan Cup. Oh, that's interesting. Since the first qualifying session for GT3s to now, which is just over half an hour, it's about nearly 40 minutes with that red flag, absolutely no movement in track temperature. Air temperature has gone up 0.2 of a degree, so pretty much stasis. But the important figure for a lot of the drivers down there is that 70% humidity. It certainly has been very, very sticky through this meeting so far. Car 83 in the background is the bright pink Mercedes from Comet Racing we were talking about. We were expecting a car from Craft Bamboo Racing, but that will be probably next year as well. And a lot of the teams from GT3 have been saying, you know what, if we're bringing a GT3 car and it's going to be a separate race for GT4, we can concentrate on that as well. So do expect GT4 to grow and grow. Now, little figures just been sent through to me in the scramble at those times at the end. 1 second in GT3, 1 second precisely to a thousandth of a second, covered the top 22. How competitive would you like your racing to be? Thank you very much to Tom Hornsby for that. And another little fact that Danny Juncadea, we saw him in that number 37, Craft Bamboo Racing Mercedes. That's the first time he hasn't taken pole. He took class poles at Fuji and Suzuka. Tough luck, Danny. Gave it a shot. So this BMW M4 GT4, super effective. It's really hit the ground running a couple of years ago, and it's going from strength to strength. And BMW M Team Studi certainly know how to run these cars. Masaki Kano at the wheel of that. Manabu Arido will take over in the second session. So again, like with the GT3s, we're looking for this afternoon's grid to be decided now in this first session. Then the teammates, the second driver, will define tomorrow's race grid. There, the Artura here for the first time in Asia. Haven't had their hands on the car long at all. It's all white. I dare say if they had more time, it might have a rather racier livery. Right, car number 50, leading the championship, top in Silver Am. Up in the background of the shot, the Porsche, the 718 from K-Mania Racing. That was its lead rival, had a really good run with the BMW Motegi 3 weeks ago, but that's the car leading the AM class. But right now for BMW M Team Studi in the Japan Cup, they're sitting on a lead of 16 points. I'll tell you the scoring system. It's 25 for a win, 7 points fewer for second place, so it goes 25, 18, 15, 12, down to 1 point for 10th place overall. But right now, really it's a case of just get the clock, get the points on the board. So there is Comet Racing making its debut in GT4. Certainly don't miss that car. And that is Risa Oguchi. So waiting for that first timed flying lap to be on the board. Great to have another team back. It did the first round of the championship, it seems an age ago, at Chang International Circuit. And that is the Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia version with the Toyota GR Supra. Right, let's see what sort of pace we can get on the board. First lap times, sort of irrelevant, they're just the out lap, but the first one to set the time was the number 39 Toyota, the one I was just talking about from Indonesia, Haridama Manopo, who will share with Seitan Nonaka. So the Indonesian driver goes first, and the Japanese driver will do the second GT4 qualifying session. So unlike their GT3, larger, faster, more aerodynamic sort of class opposites in a way, the GT4 runners don't have to really work to make their space. Right, we're riding on board with the car from Indonesia, Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia, and it's Haridama Monopo. And now let me just touch on something. If you win a race in the championship, you get a 15-second time penalty, which is added to your minimum pit stop time in the middle of these 1 hour races. And though this is round 5 of the championship, this car only appeared at round 1, but it won its class, and it has to do an extra 15 seconds. That time penalty has been kept waiting for them on their return. But Aridamo Monopo, you can see adjusting the wheel quite a lot, going out of turn 12, down to 13, onto the start-finish straight. Fanatec heard a little bit of a scratch as he hit the gravel there, so he ran a little bit wide at that final corner. So first flying lap set by this car, getting the tail moving on that Supra, 1 minute 40.6, and that's at the moment 1.5 seconds to good over the number 27 Kref Motorsport McLaren. Now let's see what the big guns can do. The number 50 BMW is going to go into second place, 0.6 of a second down. The K-Mania Racing Kobayashi goes to the very top. So the fastest car, I think, was the last in the line there. Oh, dearie me. Big moment from Kobayashi. Sho Kobayashi running a little bit wide out of turn 1, gets it all corrected and down the slope. Now, what he needs to do is focus actually on his own lap rather than what the BMW is doing in front of him. And at the moment, in terms of pace, well, he's 2 seconds faster, no, 1.5 seconds faster, so he doesn't really need to get in close behind. Hang back, you've got space, you've got time. 10 minutes, 20 seconds remaining out of the 15 minutes. Aridamo Monopo, well, he's really picked up the pace, nearly 0.4 of a second to the good in the first sector alone over his previous best. Fastest of all in the middle sector. Okay, in the second flying lap, times are still going to be, way off where they can be when they get the heat into their Pirelli slick racing rubber, but very quick times coming in from car 71, the Akiland Racing Toyota. The other Toyota race, we're riding on board the Indonesian one, car number 39. And he hit the gravel last time and a whole lot more this time. Needs to cool that down a bit. Will that affect his time too much? Monopo, he's 0.009 of a second slower than his best lap, so he stays in second place for now, but with Okayama coming through, Okayama goes top. There we are, Akiland Racing. Started the season, dropped to 8, now good to them back on board. Fastest by nearly 0.8 of a second from K-Mania Racing's Porsche, that's the 718, and now third fastest is the Artura. That's very impressive from the Zuko Suzuki, third fastest on the car's debut. Now the Aston Martin, it's not a shrunken version of the GT3, it's a GT4 version, seen here for the first time in the D-Station Racing colours. And going very nicely in the hands of Tatsuya Hoshino. Bit of a bloodline there, Satoshi Hoshino owns and runs the team. Does sound rather nice. Some rather guttural rumble of an engine note there. So important in racing, and to my understanding, I just love the different sounds of the cars, but that certainly is. It's picked up by the engine note, picked up by the track cameras. Yeah, very impressive indeed. Is it impressive in terms of lap pace? 6 fastest at the moment. Surely get a bit. Oh well, there is an improvement now. 0.7 quicker than anything else. I thought it might get up into second or third position. No time for any of that. Straight up to the top of the charts. 1 minute 38.4 seconds. Second fastest, the Toyota of Okayama. Third fastest, the 718 Porsche. This one in the hands of Sho Kobayashi. And I must say, I really had a sense this team, K-Mania Racing, took a big stride forward at Motegi a few weeks ago. Every time they went on the track, they seemed to really put down a quick time. It wasn't always the case at the start of the season. I think they're just learning about the car, learning about how it works best on its rubber. Let's see, with Sho Kobayashi having that brilliant middle sector. Wow, that's a huge amount of performance fine. He comes across the line and surely will go top with that. So he does. He goes back to the top by 0.4 of a second. Much bigger margins than we had with the GT3. That's to be expected. So at the moment, the only car that hasn't really set a sensible time is that the bright pink Mercedes. That's down Risa Iguchi, 12 seconds off the pace at the moment, but I don't think it's really set a representative time yet. Now, Aridamo Monopo, driver who likes the gravel, seems to run through it quite a lot on the exit of the final corner. That's out of turn 7. You can see how fast it drops away. Whoa! Cadwell Park down out of turn 8. now running behind the paddock. There's the main pit building. A lot of drivers run a little bit wide over the curbing there at turn 9. You can see that Harudama doesn't need to go to the gym. He's getting a good workout here. Turn 11, you want to get on the pad, have to wait. Now the short stab down to turn 12. A few drivers running through the gravel here at this penultimate corner. The edge of the track comes up at you so quickly. If you go slightly in on the wrong line, out of turn 13. Now, let's see where it's going to put it. 39 is dropped to second at the moment, and stays second, but just 0.13 of a second down, so 0.3 of a second coming. Now, you automatically expect the number 50 BMW to be right at the sharp end of the field, but at the moment it's down in 4th place. Things have been changing fast. It's the Kaimania Racing Porsche at the top. It's Harudama Manopo up to second for Toyota, down to third for Hoshino and Aston Martin, down to 4th at the moment for Masaki Kano. Will there be a gain, a place gain? 2 places gained up to second overall. Gap between first and second, half a second now, or 0.513. So closing all the time. Top 3 covered by 7/10. 1 second covered the top 4. Time left on clock, 5.5 minutes. Again, riding on board Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia Supra. Nice wieldy car. You can see early in the session, you see Manopo hanging the tail out. Now he's getting a little bit neater. Maybe he's just getting more grip from his tyres. Target time keeps on going away for him. 1 minute 37.46 now for Sho Kobayashi. Margin just over half a second to the good. Pleased to see that Risa Oguchi is chipping away. Still 11 seconds off the pace, was 12 seconds off the pace in the bright pink Mercedes, but all you could ask is improvement. That's what's coming. Improvement from Manopo. Harudama Manopo just 0.4 of a second. He was 0.5 of a second down. Masaki Kano down to the 3rd place now. That improvement from Manopo. Manopo pushing again, pushing down through turn 2. Coming up to turn 3, fabulous, my favourite part of the track here. 3, kink to the 4. Very marginal kink to the left, but just want to line up the car. So here's the Comet Racing Mercedes. It's got the Aston Martin up behind and pulling round, no trouble at all. Big difference in pace. Masaki Kano, by the way, just has gone up to 2nd place in the number 50 BMW. Gap between 1st and 4th is now just over half a second, so it's really closing up at the front of the field. Again, that Mercedes always has a wonderful grumble. Out of 7, down to 8. You get tempted to turn in quite early there. You can see a lot of drivers have gone way beyond the edge of the circuit and ripped up the grass. Akilan Racing Toyota in the pit lane. Kaimania Racing Porsche, which is fastest at the moment in the pit lane. Its margin just 0.358 of a second over Kano. These cars were fighting for class and overall GT4 glory at Motegi a few weeks ago. They're 1st and 2nd, but I think Manopo Harudama could yet have a challenge. So, Comet Racing riding on board with Risa Oguchi coming towards the end of the lap. Into turn 12, again resisting the temptation to turn in early, wanting to put a power down through 13. Quite getting an improvement. In fact, was slightly put off. There you can see the car that caught up with it and went past the car, but at the moment he's down in 4th place for Harudama Manopo. Stays there, but again, there is still time. The Indonesian Toyota to get back to the front of the field. Had its time at the very top, then it was 2nd, but then with the championship regulars coming through and Hoshino also making a charge. The McLaren, so impressive early on, has fallen back a little bit. In fact, to 6th position, just under 2 seconds down on the ultimate pace. But I'd say that's actually a very promising start for KREF Motorsport, because for any team, track time is everything. They were still getting parts to the cars in many ways. It was a slight mechanical problem, got it sorted. So every lap is a bonus for that McLaren. Great to have the new Artura here. And Yuko Suzuki will hand over to Masataka Inoue. And the second of the qualifying sessions coming up. We've still got just over 2 minutes remaining in this session. We've got 4 of the 7 cars in the pit in your shot at the moment. So the car that's fastest, 718, the Porsche up on the jacks. The car that's second fastest, number 50 BMW in the background on the right-hand side of your screen. And again, lots of them feel they've probably got what they can out of their cars. And just to point out, 0.4 of a second cover the top four, so very, very competitive. Then gap of best part of a second back to the number 71 Akiland Racing Toyota, Masayoshi Okayama. Brought that in quite early on, so hasn't done as many laps as his rivals. And we've still got Hoshino. I was going to say still got Hoshino. As I say that out on the track, he dives into the pit lane. That leaves two cars out on the track. The car that's fourth fastest at the moment, whose pace is really dropping away. Nowhere. Maybe that was a cool-down lap for Haridama Manopo in fourth. If he can find 0.4 of a second, he could be on the front row. If he finds, in fact, if he finds half a second, he'll be on the front row, along with the 718 Porsche. But he's still out on the track, and so is the Comet Racing Mercedes with Risa Oguchi now down to under 11 seconds away from the pace. So as I said, chipping away with every lap. In fact, her last lap was the best so far. This will be her last lap, and before she sees the checkered flag. So cool, calm, collected, and McLaren Artura showing off that it's got those scissor doors. Get you. One more GT4 session to come, and if you're just joining the broadcast, GT4 gets its own race for the first time. It's a toe in the water. We'd hope for 9, we've got 7 cars, but the feeling is next year we can double that and maybe head towards 20. Certainly a lot of the GT3 teams are now thinking, let us have a go in this as well. If it has its own race, we want to be involved, which is very good news. GT4 has grown all around the world, in Europe, the States in particular. It really has got great legs the last handful of years. And it looks though Manopo Haridama is settling for that. Sorry, Haridama Manopo, yeah, settling. He's decided to come in. The pace was dropping away, but in fact, I think as much as anything, he sort of set his time, very competitive too. Fourth overall, 0.4 of a second down on the ultimate pace, but Haridama Manopo, good job there. And I think he just wanted as much time to learn this track as he possibly could. So he comes in to the pits. The session is over, just waiting for the last car to take the checkered flag and getting as much track time as possible. And there will be an improvement from Risa Oguchi. Yeah, she's taken another second off on that final lap, so doing exactly what she needs to do. So she'll go round for Comet Racing, and that will give rather less time for her teammate to Kazuki Oki to get used to the car before he goes out. But the rest have got their drivers near their cars, just approaching them, waiting to get on board. Short turnaround, just 7 minutes from the checkered flag being shown to the green light being turned on at the end of the pit lane. Well, a driver who always is a good interview is with Amy, and his name, he's fastest of all, is Sho Kobayashi.
小林選手、モテギに引き続きポールポジションおめでとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
今回ですね、ライバル勢がちょっと増えまして、初の GT4 だけのレースとなりますけれども、このポジションからのスタートいかがでしょう。
私シーズン前にイタリアのモンツァに GT4 ヨーロッパ見に行ったんですね。それに憧れて、ここに来てますから GT4 ジャパンという新しいシリーズが開催されることになって、まずはSRO 皆さんにありがとうということとおめでとうございますと伝えたいですね。
So before the season, he actually went to Monza to see the GT4 race, and he was always looking forward to have a GT4 race only in Japan, and he's so happy that it happened this time, so he's very grateful to SRO. Thank you very much. That's what he said. さあ、髪の毛の色も変えましてお似合いです。チャンピオンシップを考えてですね、だいぶしがみついてますけれども、チャンピオンへの意気込みはいかがでしょう。
レース前にオリドさんにあれその髪の色ポール狙ってるねなんて茶化されてしまったんですが、気合の一つということで、ただ今回はちょっと私不慣れなので、岡山ポールはプロのチームでは難しいということで、大塚選手に今回は予選2を任せることにして、Q1 ですね、無事ポール取れてよかったなと思ってます。はい。
では改めまして今日の午後ね、頑張っていただきたいと思いますので、はい、決勝レースも頑張ってください。
はい、ありがとうございます。応援してください。
So he changed his hair color coming into the circuit, and then Orito, the driver from car number 50, came up to him and said, "Oh, this color, that means you're getting pole position." And so he did. So they have this rivalry, but also a friendship, I guess. And he's very, very happy about this position and looking forward to the race this afternoon. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Amy. Good to hear from Sho Kobayashi. The only thing missing from that interview was his teammate Naohiko Otsuka, who's such an enthusiastic figure. But you know what? He's already strapped in the car, waiting to go out in the 718 Porsche. And this is a car that has just got closer and closer to the pace. They really took a step forward at Motegi, and that form is clearly continuing. And it's great to hear the words from Sho Kobayashi because, yes, when he went to Monza, there would have been a 50-car field. And obviously it's not going to be that big here the next year, but he liked what he saw. This is their first chance to have a race on their own in GT4. But to me, the fact they've not just caught, but they seem at the moment on pace, have got their noses in front of the BMW Team Studi number 50 BMW. That is a real accolade for a team that's finding its feet, finding its form, and making very clear progress indeed. So we do it all over again. Another 15 minutes coming up for the final qualifying session out of 4. 2 GT3 sessions. Now we've had one of the GT4s and the second of those coming up right now. Will it be BMW on top? Will it be Porsche? Or will one of the others make a charge? Great to have Aston Martin in the mix. D-Station Racing. Kenji will be taking that one out. And again, could there be a challenge from any of the other cars in the field? But great to have a field of 7 cars. Great to have 6 different manufacturers in that field in the mix. So always like manufacturer variety. And really that's the essence of GT racing. Whether it's GT3 or GT4, we try, the SRO try and balance the performance so each of the manufacturers can roughly set the same time. Maybe do it in different ways around the course of a lap according to the format of their car. But if they can equalize the ideal performance, that's absolutely the game. And that is key to getting as many manufacturers in as possible. So the calm before the storm, 7 cars about to go out onto the circuit. Drivers strapped in, drivers considering the situation. Track conditions have stayed fairly stable, but I tell you what, at the start of the week when Typhoon Han was coming in, people were thinking, oh, right, okay. But it took a while to get the trucks unloaded. In fact, they couldn't take the containers off because the winds were so strong at the start of the week. The rain blew through, but it's good to see blue sky. Light cloud today, but warm, humid. That's always the factor here. But the track conditions have stayed fairly level since the start of qualifying at 9 o'clock today. So, Kref Motorsport bringing their McLaren for the first time. The McLaren Artura, the only one competing in Asia here for its debut this weekend. Track time is everything, one feels. Other cars tucked in behind the K-Mania Racing Porsche 718, already on pole position for this afternoon's race. Now we're trying to sort the GT4 grid for tomorrow's GT4 race, which will bring this meeting to a conclusion at starting at 2:30 tomorrow afternoon. Oh, thank you. So, all is set. 15 minutes of qualifying, and most of the cars just beneath my commentary position. Great position, control tower. 4 cars lined up at pit exit: a McLaren, the K-Mania Racing Porsche, and the 2 Toyota Supras. Great-looking cars, Akiland Racing, and as well as that, we've got the car from Indonesia. They did the opening round of the championship at the Chang International circuit at Buriram in Thailand, where we had weather. Oh boy, did we have weather. We had lightning and the works. So conditions absolutely fine. 13 corners tightly knit together and very little in the way of straights. Right, it's the green flag, the pit session, the pits are now clearing. Still 3 of the GT4 runners sitting in front of their garages, but 4 cars going out on the track, and it is the McLaren. So, great to have the Artura. It's a car that's really started to make a splash in Europe, but that's always the thing, you know, the manufacturers bring in new cars. We've got Ford making a big push with their Mustangs in GT3 and GT4 for next year as well. So it'd be good to have those in the mix. And I think for fans of GT racing all around the world, it's a case of just, you know, you like the cars you like, and if there's a racing version, all the better. And if it's doing well against other cars that might be equivalent road cars, you know, it's that's what motor racing is all about. The fact that the performance is balanced for all the individuals concerned is clearly also something that makes it very exciting indeed. So here's the McLaren working its way around the circuit. In the infield section, this is just behind the paddock, dropping down to turn number 9 over the curbing, and then turn 10, one of the tightest corners on the circuit. Neat and tidy. And for a lot of people, it'll be the first time they've seen an Artura, not just a racing version, but a road car version, even in the flesh. It's a very, very nimble car. A huge amount of testing goes into these cars beforehand. Rob Bell, GT driver, did the bulk of the early running. I remember interviewing him at Goodwood, I think it was last year, and he was absolutely enthusing about what was coming. He said it's such a sweet car, and clearly looks as though it handles very nicely. So we had Risa Iguchi underway. Kazuki Oki is the driver who's taking it over, and clearly for all these drivers involved, it's a novelty. It's the first time they've driven the car. Now, the number 50 BMW from Easy Racing with BMW M Team Studi. Masaki Kano did the job, and now it's the turn of his teammate Manabu Orido. Now, this weekend is the 4th weekend of competition for the Japan Cup. The 4th and final one. Started at Fuji, went to Suzuka, on to Motegi. And in GT4, this crew, Kano and Orido, they lead the championship by 16 points from the K-Mania Racing Porsche crew of Kobayashi, who we heard from with his new hair colour, and his smiling teammate Naohiko Otsuka. They're 16 points down. It's tough at the top, but for BMW M Team Studio, they did have a disqualification. That's why the points have closed up on them, but certainly the form for K-Mania Racing, they've just taken pole for the first of the GT4 races. Can they make it 2, or can Manabu Orido fight back? I think he probably can, but I think they've been rather caught napping by the progress made by K-Mania Racing. There is the K-Mania Cayman. That's running in the AM class because so in the first session, the GT4 was down towards the tail of the field, but this time around it's actually at the top because it's the first car to set a flying lap, and the mark is 1 minute 39.2. Those times will most definitely be coming down. In fact, Otsuka for K-Mania Racing, Hiko Otsuka does a 1 minute 38.6, so 0.6 of a second faster, but that's a good start from Masataka Inoue in the McLaren. Now look at that, that's good driving as well. He spots the K-Mania Racing Porsche coming up behind him, puts his indicator on, says I'll keep out of your way out of turn 2, so it doesn't interrupt it to between 3, 4 and 5, and through turn 6 up the slope onto the back straight goes Naohiko Otsuka. And I think last meeting was when they really got to grips with how their tyres work best for this Porsche Cayman. They took a big leap forward, and suddenly they weren't looking at the BMW escaping the distance, they were staying with it, they were fighting with it, so it was really good news for them. No wonder they were so pleased. So, fastest car on the track at the moment with only 1 flying lap on the board for 5 of the 7 runners. This car, the 718 Cayman, 1 minute 38.612 seconds. Second fastest, the McLaren, number 27 of Masataka Inoue. And car number 83 at the moment is third fastest. That's the bright pink Comet Racing Mercedes, so clearly going better in the hands of Kazuki Oki, but that's now been pushed back to 4th because BMW number 50, Manabu Orido, has gone up into 3rd place. But whatever Naohiko Otsuka did on his first flying lap is going to be consigned to history. 1 more corner to go, keeps it just within the confines of the circuit. It's a very tight final corner. Onto the start-finish straight he goes. What's he going to do? 1 minute 36 point something? Let's take a look. 1 minute 37.8. I got ahead of myself. He got even further ahead of the rest at the moment. He's now 1.4 seconds to the good over the McLaren of Masataka Inoue, which comes through to set its second flying lap and does not improve. In fact, middle sector was down by about a dozen seconds, so that's backed off. I don't think there was a problem, but anyhow, with a new car, problems can manifest at any time. So looking at Kazuki Oki, there's a car that stands out in the crowd, bright of the moment Barbie pink for Comet Racing. Again, a problem for them in the middle sector as well. Their sector 2 time way off the ultimate pace, but at the moment Oki down in 6th position, 9 seconds off the pace. Will probably improve his time a little bit. In fact, he doesn't. He goes within 9 thousandths of a second. This Aston Martin, D-Station Racing, bobbed up towards the front from quite a late starter in the first session. Took a while to set a time, suddenly went up to the front end, and very much in the mix at the moment. Kenji Hama is 4th fastest, and at the moment his best time is nearly 5 seconds off the ultimate pace. He'll be taking great chunks out of that for D-Station Racing, a team that's based just down the hill from Fuji Speedway. K-Mania Racing closing in the background, so Otsuka going faster and faster. 1 minute 37.8, he's now 1.4 seconds to good, but the Aston Martin number 48 goes into 2nd place. So Kenji Hama has the car at the front. The 718 Porsche Cayman stretches its legs. So too does Hama in the Aston Martin. And so too is Manabu Arido, down to 4th place in the car that's leading the Japan Cup GT4 class. While the car that's fastest is the car that's 2nd in the GT4 class. So Arido needs to get a bit of a move on. But not all the cars, 3 of the cars in this field aren't eligible for Japan Cup points. Not surprisingly, that includes the Toyota from Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia. That's car number 39, which at the moment is slowest in the hands of Seita Nonaka. Also not in the Japan Cup is the D-Station Racing Aston Martin, the brand new entry, and the 3rd car not in it is the Comet Racing Mercedes, that bright pink one. So they cannot interrupt the flow. So for this BMW crew, knowing there's a point difference of 7 between 1st and 2nd place, their advantage is at the moment 16 points, so they could afford to finish 2nd if the K-Mania Racing Porsche wins each the race. Yes, I know it's clever maths, but right now what they want to do is do the easy thing, the thing that makes things easy. It's not an easy thing to do, put the car on pole position, then you don't have to have such a fuss. We have had a change at the top because the number 71 Akilan Racing Toyota Sakaguchi's just gone to the top. Manado Arido, I noticed, had gone into 2nd place, so apologies, I didn't notice Akilan had moved to the top. That means Otsuka in the 718 Cayman is now down to 3rd place. This is looking like a better lap from Masataka Inoue in the McLaren. He's starting to wind it up, he's starting to just have more intent with his cornering. And meanwhile, the car that's slowest overall, Seita Nonaka, in 39 Toyota, the Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia car, is just banged in the fastest first sector of anyone, so he won't be 7th for long. Riding on board now with Seita Nonaka. Twisting, turning, this is coming up the slope to turn 11. View down to the penultimate corner, bank of trees in front. Turning in, just, neat, that's tidy, that's very, very good indeed. Seita Nonaka clearly raced here before, knows the track very well. Little rumble of gravel as he goes over the curbing on the outside. The target time 1 minute 36.2, and Nonaka goes into 2nd place, just 63 thousandths of a second down. So it's Toyota first, that's the Akilan Racing Toyota 2nd. The 718 Porsche had been setting the pace, but is now 1.2 seconds down in 6th place. This session so much more competitive. We had a range of about 9 seconds in the first session, but with the 83 Mercedes going so much better in the hands of Kazuki Oki, he's up in 4th place overall, just a second down on the ultimate pace, but 1.2 seconds covers the top 6 out of the 7s. Cars set 2.1 seconds down to 7th place, so it's tight, it's competitive. Who's going to go to the top? In fact, the car that's slowest is the Aston Martin, 1.4 seconds down now because Sakaguchi's gone even faster, 1 minute 38.26 seconds. There he is, number 71, Akilan Racing. And he's improving all the time. Is he going to get down into 1 minute 37s? Quite possibly. Let's see how neat and tidy he is for Akilan Racing between turn 12 and 13. looking neat, looking to, very good on the exit of turn 13. Should carry as much pace as he can onto the start-finish straight and then use the grunt of his engine. How much further clear? 1 minute 36.129. He squeaked another little bit out there. Seita Nonaka riding on board with him. He's second fastest. Looks as though unless he gets a brilliant final sector, he's going to stay in second place. 1 minute 36.1. Oh, he's down. He's up by 0.003 of a second. I thought he was down by 0.003. So I thought, how cruel. He's had a good shot and it hasn't worked, but it has worked. So provisional pole position. Just 3 minutes 45 seconds remaining. 2 more laps for some of these runners. It's Toyota first and second. We've had the swapping of position. It's now Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia top of the charts. There it is, the white, red and black example. Akaland Racing, white, yellow and black for them. They are second fastest, but it's the red, black and white Toyota top. The 27 Kref Motorsport McLaren, well, Masataka Inoue's really got a grip of this one. Lost a little bit in the middle sector. I'd suggest his best lap might be next time around. His best lap was his previous one, 1 minute 36.7. 0.6 of a second off the pace, but looking faster, neater, tidier. Ooh, what a nice little rumble there as he accelerates away from turn 13. So just under 3 minutes to go, crosses the start-finish line. He can do this lap and 1 lap more. No improvement for him that time around, but only down by not even 1/10 of a second on his previous best. So he's finding the consistency for Kref Motorsport. Looking for improvement. 2 cars in the pits. Manabu Arido, the number 50 BMW in the pits. And also the Aston Martin, D-Station Racing Aston Martin. Kenji Hama has fallen to the back of the pack. Only 1.6 seconds covering the top 7 runners. All the GT4 runners, 1.6 seconds. Much more competitive. The Comet Racing Mercedes coming in. That's in 4th place overall. Just a second down on the ultimate pace. But when you come in this late, you're not going to be getting another flying lap in. So any change is going to come from those cars out on the circuit. Will Seita Nonaka stay there by the monumental margin of 0.003 of a second over the sister Toyota, the one from Akaland Racing. And at the moment, they're not setting improved times around the lap, so maybe they're going to come in and park up as well. Much more competitive session there. The fast drivers and all of the pairings going out in the second session. Championship leading car good only for 5th place. The championship chasing car good only for 6th. So the incomers, the newcomers, including that McLaren, have been very, very impressive indeed in learning the track, learning their cars, getting up to speed. So you can see the drivers with their names back with the background of red, all in the pits at the moment. But out on the track, it's not over yet. Car that's fastest is car number 39, but the car that's fastest overall in the middle sector is the chasing Toyota, the number 71, the Akaland Racing car. Was down by 1/10 of a second in the first sector, but here it comes, and certainly that is being pushed very hard indeed by Ryohei Sakaguchi over the curbing. Oh, looks that final corner was a little bit messy, but he's still got a chance, just under a minute to improve on that. What's his best time there? Well, he goes top. He goes top by 36,000ths of a second. He found just over 400ths of a second. It was enough. I thought he'd made a mess of the final corner. What do I know? He clearly knows far more than I do. 1 minute 36.09 seconds. 1 minute 36.126 seconds for Nonaka in the Indonesian Toyota. And all others in the pits except for the K-Mania Racing Porsche went back out, and Otsuka pressing on. He's down in 6th position overall, but he hasn't improved in the first sector. Has run out of time to gain any more pace, so I guess it's just checking something the team have done to the car, but it looks like everyone else is now backed off. Sakaguchi is certainly backed off. Comet Racing taking a look at the timing screens, and that would be Risa Oguchi, who she ran in the first of the sessions, and of course that has now been brought back in. So in fact, that's Oki who's just done that. Kazuki Oki. There's the checkered flag, but I think the 3 cars on the track at the moment, they're not making great gains. So I think they'll probably just bring their cars in at the end. Yeah, K-Mania Racing only good for 6th place for Naoko Otsuka, but he's got the car he's fighting with for the title sitting right in front of him on the grid for tomorrow's race. Of course, They've got the first GT4 race this afternoon, and that will be kicking off at 3:40. The main race for the GT3 runners is at 12:40 local time here in Western Japan. Really looking forward to it. But great to have the GT4 cars running on their own, get more chance to see them picked up by the cameras, and they look very good around a circuit like this. I'd say it's almost an ideal circuit for GT4 runners. And it's on the calendar again for next year. The Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia stretched to 7 rounds next year. It's been 6 rounds for a couple of years, but there'll be 1 round at Sugo, which is entirely, exclusively for the cars running in the Japan Cup. That will add a different twist. And we're returning to China for the first time since 2019 to the Shanghai International Circuit. So 7 rounds next year, and GT4 races on their own very much in the infancy, but it's happening here. But Sakaguchi, who took pole position, Ryohei Sakaguchi for Akiland Racing, great job. And seem to be very pleased in that. Neat and tidy, and certainly Toyota Supras were very, very competitive. Just 36 thousandths of a second. The advantage over the other Supra in the hands of Seita Nonaka in that session. And Masataka Inoue, brand new McLaren Artura, 3rd overall. So that was a really good run for Kref Motorsport with their brand new racer, the first one of the racing Arturas in Asia. And Comet Racing, good run there from Kazuki Oki to go into 4th place. And again, very competitive, just over a second down on the ultimate pace. And Manabu Arido expected a little bit more. Easy racing with BMW Team Studi, but they're the championship leaders in the Japan Cup GT4, and they are just tucked in behind with Naohiko Otsuka, championship challenger in the lone Porsche Cayman, and then the brand new GT4 Aston Martin in the hands of Kenji Hama brings up the rear, but only 1.6 seconds down on the pace. So very competitive in GT4. 7 cars we have, 7 cars will go racing, but good job there from the 2 Toyota crews. And Akiland Racing had them at the start of the season, they dropped away. Now they've returned and really got stuck in today. Those Supras look very impressive around the circuit here. So, tick in the box. GT3 Session 1, GT3 Session 2, GT4 Session 1 and GT4 Session 2. It's good having the classes separated, and it's, I'm very sure, the way to go. So the cars all going in for official checks there. But qualifying is done, and we go racing. First of all with the GT3s at 12:40 and then at 3:40. But let's go down to Akiland Racing, because Amy has caught up with the man who's taken pole position, Ryohei Sakaguchi.
坂口選手、ポルポジションおめでとうございます。
はい、個人的には鈴鹿に続いて2戦連続なんで嬉しいですね。はい。
So he's very happy because it's the second one after Suzuka. 坂口選手、スープラ同士のタイム合戦となりましたけど、スープラすごくフィットしているって感覚ありますかね。
そうですね。この車やっぱホイールベース短いんで旋回スピードすごい速いの知ってたし、もうここ岡山国際サーキットは僕もここで育ったサーキットだし、で野中選手でスープラってもう今若手のね速いドライバーと一緒に走るっていうことで。個人的にもワクワクしてたんですけど、コンマ1秒の争いができたんで、ポール取れて本当チームにもオーナーにも喜んでもらえて今のところ良かったですね。はい。
おめでとうございます。So he was very happy to be battling with this very, young driver in the other Supra car with Nonaka Senshu, and also because this Supra is feeling very well on track. The cornering speeds is great, so it was just a very, very nice attack for him as well. So he enjoyed it very much. 決勝に向けて意気込みを教えてください。
はい、今日オーナースタートなので、しっかり走り切ってね、明日もありますし、はい、すごくこのレースウィークをね、チームで楽しみたいと思います。
So today, Oyama-san will start the race, so he is crossing his finger for his start, and also they just came here to enjoy this weekend as well, so they will try all the best for themselves and also enjoy themselves for the best. Back to you. 改めておめでとうございました。
はい、ありがとうございました。
Oh, well, thank you very much, Amy. And Akiland Racing, a pat on the back. Ryohei Sakaguchi, that car did look fantastic around the circuit here. And great to have a little inter-Nissan battle with the other Toyota, Seita Nonaka. Very close indeed. 36 thousandths of a second. So a blink of an eye, a very fast blink of an eye is all there is between those two Toyota Supras, who are going to be on the front row of the grid for the second GT4 race. Yes, that'll be tomorrow. But let's take a look back at the highlights of qualifying for the GT4s. It was fast and furious, and the pace kept on improving. It was very, very close indeed. So let's take a look back at the highlights. And 7 cars came out to play, spread across 6 different manufacturers. And certainly the Toyotas decided the best place to be was at the front of the queue. The championship leading BMW tucked behind him in 3rd place. And then championship challenging Porsche, number 718 from K-Mania Racing, just tucked in behind him. But the car that really made the moves early in the session was the brand new McLaren Artura, the first one in Asia in GT4. And Masataka Inoue was really getting a move on at the front of the field. The team brand new to this car, or vice versa, at the start of the week. But Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia really starting to go very well in the hands of Seitan Onaka. Akiland Racing decided their Toyota maybe should have a go at the front. And certainly Ryohei Sakaguchi was very, very confident in the performance of the car. And the second of the drivers to go in the K-Mania Racing 718 Cayman was Naohiko Otsuka. He started setting some quick times, but the times kept on improving. And that would fall away down to 6th place overall, which isn't exactly where he wants to start the second of the 2 GT4 races. But his concern was keeping the championship leading car close to him on the times. Now, the car's going back out onto the circuit, and it was the same story, just a different shuffling of the pack. And the McLaren Artura looking very, very good indeed. Team very, very short of experience this car, but clearly getting to grips. It's a car that famously handles absolutely beautifully. And good to have the Artura providing a little bit of something different. BMW M4 known very well indeed over here. Great success over the years in GT4. Elements of Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia. But it was a battle. It's a battle about grid position, and K-Mania Racing kept on fighting. But the fastest time set by the 2 Toyotas, including this one, the 39 Supra from Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia, kept going faster and faster, and at one point there was just 0.003 of a second between them. But the order was flipped around right at the end, and Akiland Racing came to the top. Ryohei Sakaguchi, in the end, a huge margin of 0.36 of a second. That was his advantage. That took pole position. So for GT4, it's been brilliant. We're looking forward very much for their first race on their own. That's this afternoon. Do make sure that you join us.